To sit there and say that the government has done nothing good is just absolutely insane.
Oh, no,
like, he doesn't think that fucking taxes should go towards education at all. Yeah. Like, that's not a good thing.
We have a computer, dude. That computer, anything on a screen or on your
kid.
No, I wasn't. But I'm just saying, like, anything.
So you don't think that it can be beneficial to not spend time in front of a screen?
I'm not. Well, it doesn't have to be the whole time in front of the screen. You could portion it out some ways, or like have some part of it be audio, or like.
Have you seen iPad kids?
No, yes, I've seen iPad kids.
And you see what happens when you take that iPad away?
Okay, well, even if that's the case, I think that you could probably make a pretty fair argument that the kids who like have access to this kind of information are going to be way better off. Like, going to be smarter, going to be more educated than the people who don't have that. The
if
people
your dog
who just
started barking right now.
Kids aren't dogs.
Consistently, right? I know. But if it started barking right now consistently, how long do you think you got before you get irritated?
What does this have to do with anything?
Answer the question.
I mean, for me, pretty quick.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I bet you take that iPad away from a fucking child, and you're going to give it back pretty fucking quick.
Okay,
if you're the type of guy like I am, and after your dog's barked like 5 times, you're like, yo, shut the fuck up.
Okay, this is completely deviated off the original point, which is that, like, how effective is education compared to that? I guarantee any piece of technology with the internet.
I think it's very important.
You keep interrupting me.
I cut you.
The thing that, like, it outranks, like, an entire, like, if you had an entire university, an entire group of teachers, like, that's going to be more effective at every time at the end of the day than, like,
if the teachers are good.
Even if the teachers are good, though, like, they're like, look, think about education. What do they use anyways to, like, do most of their job? That fucking thing.
What do they use the internet mostly for?
Here's my
not
thing
this,
about
not
it.
educating themselves.
Well, part of that is because that we have a public school system that is shitty, that, like, doesn't actually foster true education. So people are going to be wired more to, like, look at porn or, like, play video games or whatever the fuck. Yeah, I get that, but, like, just the possibilities that the technology gives is just way more. It's just way more valuable than anything that a teacher or educator can do. Yeah. I just don't believe that.
It's just. Like,
it's the same, even remotely.
I don't know.
I would rather give people information and truth.
But then you're depending on the students.
I don't think, though, I don't think that the internet is necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, no.
Like, I think this is a great tool.
Yeah, it has bad aspects,
and I hate when they're like, it's like, oh, you have to do this way and stay off the computer when it comes to education.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Like, I also do get it at the same time. Like, I get both ends. I think, honestly, one thing that needs to happen with a lot of schools is they need to be, I think, honestly, more schools wouldn't necessarily be a negative thing. I went to kind of like a mid-range school. To somebody like Blythe or yourself, I went to a fairly large school. But to somebody like Pedro, I still went to a small school with like 300 kids in my graduating class. Yeah. You know, and I think that smaller, a little bit more focused grouping. Like, if my school would have been just a little bit smaller than it was, like a 2A type of version, like, after 1,000 kids, that's a lot of kids for how many teachers you have. You know what I mean?
Well,
whereas when the gap is smaller, they have more time to utilize to build a relationship with their students. And I think that's a huge part of education that now gets missed these days. Not that internet's bad and that we shouldn't have computers in schools, but it's like, when you got 2,000 kids in your fucking high school, they basically have to police it at that point.
But I think that almost proves my point as to, like, the reason it's like that is because it's not as valuable as this type of education. Because it's so devalued, it's so pointless that people just don't give a fuck.
You learn things that you don't just learn in curriculum, though.
Yeah, especially
when you're in
Google,
a public school system, or private. You're learning valuable social skills. You're learning valuable things about people. There's going to be negative things that happen.
You could do that outside of a school system.
Yeah,
and a lot of kids don't. A lot of kids that got homeschooled in the Oskaloosa area but had to come to the high school in order to keep doing sports, they wouldn't talk much. They were all quiet and put away at first.
I think that's a stereotype. I think if you actually meet, like, I've met plenty of homeschool people that are, like, completely functional. They're actually better, a lot suited than, like, people who are in, like, the...
We've had some, yes. most of them were very reserved and put away. And they were like, I don't really know what to do here. I'm nervous right now. Maybe, I haven't experienced this large city.
But maybe part of that was because of this whole stigmatization that, these kids that are homeschooled are weird. So then they're going to naturally feel uncomfortable. Like in that environment when people already are like saying like, oh yeah, they're homeschooled. They're probably weird as shit. You know, yeah, of course they're gonna act that way. I just don't think it's like I don't think it's as easy as saying. And I was anxious as shit. I was shy and shit.
I don't think it's as easy as saying, of course, though, because maybe there's a bad stipulation on public schools as well, though, because there's positive with it and there's negative. But maybe the stereotype that they're hearing is that public schools are all bad and all negative, and there's nothing good about them. So when they show up, they're really reserved because they're like, man, I just want to play football, but I'm not really supposed to hang out with you guys. I'm just saying you could still have a negative education by learning at home or learning at a private school.
Well, I'm not saying that like it's gonna be like the best thing ever. It's not a utopia, but like I think it's gonna be better on average if you have that homeschooling / technology education. Versus the public education system.
Because the internet is just a tool of like gathering information.
I mean, I'm not
like you could type up literally how many inches do I need to like tuck it in so I could like
this fucking guy, right?
Well, exactly. And like when you're done with school and you go into the real world, like what do you do? Do you just go sit in if you want to learn about something, you need to learn how to do something.
Suck my own dick?
That's kind of
do you just like go sit do you take a class and go sit in a classroom? No, you go to YouTube, you go to Google, and you figure it out that way.
That is something that we discussed though when we discussed that topic originally when it was just you and I. About like when you said that you didn't think taxes should go to schools, that's when I mentioned though, I mean when kids turn 18 these days, especially in America, it's kind of like they're just like, okay, you're done now, you're an adult, let's go, get it pushing. And I'm like, okay, but there's not a very good and like well oriented push to adulthood